What's up, guys and gals, and welcome to Tropico 5 with me, Splattercat. I played Tropico 3 and 4 quite a bit, and Tropico was a series that I very much like. In fact, I think it's probably my favorite city builder sim that has ever existed, and so I wanted to take my time when I was going to do Tropico 5, because I didn't want to have the same thing happen that happened when I played Banished Blind, and the whole thing just kind of collapsed on me. So I took a couple days, and I've played Tropico a bit more. I've got about 6 to 7 hours under my belt, and if you combine all the time I played 3 and 4, I've got like 50 hours of Tropico time in. The game is not that much different from its predecessors. However, I do think that there are a few distinguishing factors that we'll probably talk about during the course of the first episode. But for now, let's go ahead and start off a new game so that we're not wasting a ton of times on the menu. For those of you that are uninitiated, what is Tropico? Well, Tropico is a game in which you play the dictator of a small tropical island nation who must deal with the foreign politics with like the United States, the Axis, the Allies, the USSR, as you try and last as long as possible without your dynasty being overthrown. So there will be rebels, there will be assassinations, there will be explosions. It will be great. And so I need to delete that dynasty so that we can recreate it right here on camera, simply for you guys. That was from the stream. For those of you that didn't know, I did stream this game a few days ago. Unfortunately, I wasn't really happy with the way that it played out, so I didn't record it. I wanted to do a specific series just for the YouTube people, so here it is. We're going to go with a new dynasty. It's not going to be the Gonzalez dynasty. It is going to be the I was going to do Kim Jong Splat this time. Like, I was going to go Kim Jong Splat. But I didn't know, it's not necessarily going to work out that way. We are on a tropical island right now, so I think I'm just going to go, we're on a tropical Caribbean Latin nation. So I think we're just going to stick with the Del Splatter surname. And so there it is. Del Splatter, the legacy continues. Now, there are a number of things about this game that have changed since Tropico 4. I'm going to do my best as we go through the gameplay to point those out so that you guys can get a feel for whether or not this game is worth your time. I'm going to leave, okay, so we're going to go ahead and make our leader right now. And it's got a bunch of pre-built names. I do wish that you could just type your own in right now. Ooh, Fabio. Hell yeah, Fabio Del Splatter. That's what we're going to go for. I cannot believe it is not butter. It's going to be amazing. That's going to be the best name I could have possibly chosen. There's a ton of names, by the way. If you go through this list, there's an insane amount of names. It just keeps going for long, long periods of time. Now, we've got to choose a skill that's going to allow our Caribbean dictator to do various things throughout the course of our playthrough. We can go with Agitator, which means that we can convert 2 votes into votes in our favor when cheating on elections. We can go with Altruist, which means we start with a $2,000 bonus. That's probably the worst one you can pick, just because that $2,000 is going to be up and gone really, really quickly. You can be a Celebrity, which means you get more foreign aid. That can add up over time, but there will be certain points where you're not going to be getting any foreign aid at all because you've pissed off everybody. I'm going to do my best in my last Tropico playthrough on the channel. I tried not to piss anybody off. I'm probably going to be picking sides in this one just to see what kind of interesting stuff happens, to see if we can get like invasions and all that other fun stuff. Cheapskate, all constructions are 4% cheaper. That can really add up over time, especially once you start building the really, really huge buildings. Environmentalist reduces the pollution. That one's pretty good as well. Financier gives you $200 annual income. Not going to add up that much. I mean, over the course of the game, you might get yourself like $20,000 possibly. Not really going to be that great. Global effectiveness of production buildings increased by 2 is pretty good. And then general, okay, 2% extra damage from soldiers. Or we go service buildings. Their construction costs are decreased by 10%. Or we can go with agent, which allows us to find spies a little bit easier. So I would say agent, administrator, foreman, and cheapskate, environmentalist. Those are the good ones. And anything that I didn't mention right there is probably not the greatest, simply based on the fact that it has limited scope to help you out during the course of the game. I'll probably go with 4% cheaper is tempting. That means you're going to be saving about $80 on every building, and when you're I don't know if that'll actually add up enough. I think I'll probably go with, let's go with foreman. We're going to go with the, yeah, let's go with foreman. That's going to allow us to have a little bit more effectiveness on all of our buildings. Effectiveness works a little bit different now too, so I'll explain that as we go through the game. Basically, they moved around a lot of the internal systems that dictate how the game plays out, and some people like it, some people don't. I'm somewhere in the middle. I do like some of the changes, but I really dislike some of the other ones, and so Tropico 5 is sort of a mixed bag for me when it comes to an expansion or when it comes to a sequel, because there are things that they've changed that kind of bug me, but then there are things that they've changed that I really like, and so I think it sort of evens out. I think it stands on its own as a really distinct game, which is a problem that you had between 3 and 4, where they were basically the same game. We got to choose an outfit now. I'm going to go with this, I don't know, Gestapo-looking outfit. I don't know. That one seems kind of cool. You can be in a dictator's outfit right here with the super awesome pauldrons, or you can go with a astronaut suit. I think I'm going to stick with the Gestapo looking one though. And so the main color I wanted to be white. So let's go ahead and find that. Champagne. There we go. Coconut white. That's going to be the one. And then our supplementary color, I don't know. That's going to wait until we have our accessories. So let's go with our hat for right now because we got to come up with a hat. That hat's looking pretty good. We could just go with the ball cap or the cowboy hat. You never know. Or we could just go with the top hat. That seems pretty swell. Let's go with the supplementary color and see if we can get our top hat to match up with our pants. There we go. He's looking like a classy fella right now. I don't think I'm going to go with that hair, though. The long hair's a little bit weird. I'm going to go with... That's the one. That is the one. That is the most interesting man on earth look right there. The Dos Equis look, as we like to call it. And then we've got to go with, like, dark... We'll go with black hair, I guess. At which point we will now choose our shades. We're going to go with the Ray-Bans, because I do feel like the Ray-Bans probably accentuate all of the things that I would want in my dictator. Just that adherence to style and class. You guys are following me. Let's go ahead and start the game off because we got a lot of work to do. We're going to do a generated map that starts in the colonial era. The colonial era. That's a new feature that they've added to the game right now that you have to be aware of. You now start the game beholden to a king, and you've got to spend the beginning of the game kind of appeasing and pleasing him while also appeasing and pleasing the rebels so that you can declare independence, fight with the king, and one day have your own unified Tropico. So that's just a little extra thing that they added. So you'll be aware of that as we start the game. Let's go ahead and start it off because there's not a whole lot of things right here that I feel the need to explain any further. I feel as though we have been self-explanatory, and so it's time to ride out on this lovely banana-filled island. And so here it is. We've started out on our island. Now, what's going on with this map here? We're going to have a look around. I'm going to go ahead and pause the game for just a second. We're going to have a look around. It looks like we've got an actually... really kind of mild, low-laying island. So we've got a lot of flat space going on. It doesn't appear as though we're going to have a ton of mountains or anything in the way. We do have this large phallus-shaped rock in behind our city so that anybody coming to port will know exactly what it is that we stand for. I think we're going to do pretty well with this island. Typically, I look at the islands in regards to like negative aspects, but this island's actually looking pretty swell for us. I don't see a whole lot of mines. Now, there is fog of war. We are going to have to be aware of that. So the fog of war is something that we're going to have to explore and get rid of as we play the game. Just something you need to know. It is a new feature that they've added for better or for worse. For the beginning of the game, you've got to explore. Once you invent the compass, there is going to be research later on. I'll go ahead and show you that. Let me close this on out. And so we've got loads and loads of research to be doing. Once you research the compass, which is right here in the middle of the tech tree, it will actually reveal the entire map, so you don't need to spend too much time exploring, but it is costly to spend your time exploring. So all of the features that were in previous Tropico games are still in the game. Those are going to be things that the game functions very similarly to Tropico 3 or 4 with regards to a few things have changed, so you'll want to be aware of those as we go through the game. I'll explain them as we get there. Let's start by putting down some roads and kind of deciding how we want this whole thing to play out. You want to be careful about the way that you play your map, and I want to make sure that the space that we have is already taken care of right up and early, and that's going to be crooked, isn't it? It's going to be crooked, isn't it? Alright, well, we're going to go back to our construction menu here. Let me demolish this road really quickly. And there we go. The road is now out of the way, and I'm going to put it back in just the way that it was previously. You can also do that with the R key, by the way. In case you didn't know, it's probably easier just to do this like this. There we go. And so now we want to start thinking about revenue streams. That's going to be the first major thing that we need to be really kind of jumping into bed with, is we need something to export. Otherwise, we're not going to have any income other than that which the king sends us. Every year or so, he's going to send us a grip of cash, but we don't want to rely on that. The other thing you want to be aware of in the colonial era is that we have our reign. So we have mandate. The king has put us in control, and it's only for 4 years. And so we want to take his quests. We want to be successful with his quests, because if we complete the quest, he can either give us money, he can pad our Swiss bank account, or finally he can extend our mandate, which makes our life a little bit easier. You don't have to deal with rebels as long as there's mandate, because the king has your back. He's got you locked down. He says we're homies, and that's all that it takes. Now we've got a 15% approval rating, which is pretty miserable. That's a really, really bad approval rating. Let's go ahead and click on some of these quests and figure out what it is we have to do in the beginning of the game.
In an effort to improve the health of his subjects, His Majesty has issued a new decree. All citizens must eat at least 1 piece of fruit per day. To this end, all colonies are ordered to begin fruit production immediately.
Okay, and so if we build a pineapple plantation, he's going to extend our mandate because apparently we are busy shoving fruit down the gobs of all of our peasants because they have scurvy. They've been running around generally just bleeding out of their mouth orifice the entire time that they exist. They exist very, very briefly. They die shortly thereafter. They just basically come in, they orally bleed, and then they die. And that's the story of our peasants. The Splattercat story. And so I think I've messed this up already. Yep, I hate laying down roads. I always mess it up every single time. So we'll demolish that really quickly. Once it's gone, we'll come back in with the roads. We will put it in place. There it is. I build everything with squares, so if that's going to drive you crazy, I apologize, but that's just the way I like to do my business. When I do my business, I prefer that it be square, or at least rhombohedral in some sense. Alright, so over here we have the opportunity to get a trade pass. We're not going to need that right now. Instead, what we want to do is let's take a look at some of these menus that we've had from previous playthroughs. We've got the same tab, the happiness tab that we had in the previous game, where it's going to say how happy people are with everything. Right now, they have no happiness about anything. They are just depressed all of the time. It is a horrible place to live, honestly. Everybody just bitches and moans constantly. Nobody has any sunshine in their life. Ain't no sunshine. When she's gone, he's gone, it's gone, because it's all gone to begin with. So we need to get started on that. We started with a Teamster's office, a construction office. We started with a pig farm to feed people, which I'm not sure. They started us with a pig farm. I don't know why. I'll get rid of that in just a minute because it's taking up valuable space in the middle of town. Who wants to have their presidential palace across the street from a pig farm? Honestly, who wants that? Nobody. That's who. So we're going to send out some explorers, which means we click on our presidential palace and then we go to explore for $1,000. And I'm just going to send somebody down the coast to go ahead and explore all this so that I can start putting things in. We've got a lot of trees, and so I think a really good thing to invest in the early game is going to be the raw resource of logging. So let's get started with that. Our first logging camp is going to get dropped right there. One of the things that they've added to the game is when your logging camp runs out of trees to chop down, it actually collapses itself and it goes away, which is a really, really good thing for us because it means we don't have to constantly be micromanaging the fact that our lumber camps may or may not have any logs going in. Over here, you will see our super awesome colonial soldiers. They actually have like the little tricorn hats and everything too. If you take a look at them, but anyways, it's not going to let us get in closer. That's as far as I can zoom. I would love to zoom further so that you could see our little blue coats, but that's about the best I can do. At the moment, I think we are a colony of Spain or someone. I don't know. We're a colony of some major first world power who is just kind of making us their bitch right now. And just being like, if you don't do what I say, I will invade you with red coats, yellow coats, brown coats. I don't know what color their coats are, but they are going to be coming straight at you and standing out in the open and, you know, people fought like that back then. They're like, let's stand in an open line, let's not take any cover, and let's just fire at each other. That seems like a great way to do combat, right? Let me speed the game up briefly. And as I speed the game up, our logging camp is now done. One of the things that you're going to want to know about as we play the game, and I know I've said that a lot thus far, but it does bear repeating, because there are a lot of new features that they've gotten rid of the slider. In all of your buildings, there used to be a slider right here that would dictate how much people got paid or how much rent they got charged. Now they've put in the budget system, and the budget system functions a little bit differently. With the budget system, it means how much money you're putting into this business to make it more effective. So basically, it affects both the wages of the people working there, it affects their happiness, and it affects how well they do their job. And so in a certain respect, they've sort of dumbed the game down with this mechanic. And the best way that I found to play the game is just to put everything on max all the time. And it makes everybody happy all the time. My approval ratings are always through the roof when I do this. It's kind of an oversimplification of the game, but it happened, and so I just go like that. The monetary costs actually make up for the fact that, you know, the positive benefits that you get out of doing something like this more than make up for the fact that it's costing you a lot of money. So if you look, their housing quality goes up to 50, they don't have to pay quite as much rent, and so basically everybody is super stoked. Now we do have a bunch of shacks laying around everywhere, and I'm not talking about the one that plays for the Lakers because that would be a definite impedance. That would be a problem for us. If there were shacks laying around everywhere, we wouldn't be able to build our buildings because he's enormous. He's like 50 feet long. The guy is huge. We also need to connect this with a road. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to export because, for whatever reason, hand trucks in this game only work if you have roads built around. They can't. This looks reasonably flat and grassy to me. I've used wheelbarrows on grass before, but these guys, they're picky. They don't like to do it. Unfortunately, we missed a little strip right here. Got kind of, you know when you shave and you miss that one little spot on your neck because you always cut your neck whenever you shave right there? That is the spot. That is the neck shave spot right there. What we can do is we can click on them again and we can tell them to explore further, but it costs us another $1,000. And so now we are in the red. We are broke, but it's all right. That's not something to worry about in the early game. It sort of happens.
Technological progress is the path to autonomy, Governor. We need more scientists to think important thoughts, and discover new stuff.
Ah, yes, the revolutionaries and their desire for stuff. That's going to be a quest for us to build a library, which is the location through which all of our research is done. I'm hoping they get that on the way back good. We need lots and lots of building space. This big rock that's right here is going to be a problem, as well as this berm. So I think for the beginning period of the game, we're only going to go in this direction for right now. Once we have this direction developed, we've gone off to like the northwest. Is this the northwest? Okay, I didn't know if my camera was rotated in a strange sense, but it is the northwest. We've exported $4,000 worth of logs, which is good, and then hopefully the king will give us a few extra bits before we go into the red again. And then, once we have a little bit of extra money, there it is. The king has sent us 5,000 daras, which a great king he is indeed. All hail the king. Any king that gives me 5,000 daras is okay in my book. I'm going to put... Let's go with a... I think I'm going to go with some residential buildings right now because it looks like we do have a homeless problem. These shacks are always going to crop up whenever you have homeless. And so I like how on the camera right there for the crown sending me money, it's actually got like the building that I'm... Alright, never mind. Enough fun for right now. You can't have fun while playing video games. That totally ruins the point. How are you going to have fun while playing video games? WTF, mate, what? And so anyways, let's start our buildings off right here. Once these get constructed, that should handle our homeless problem for the next little bit. I want to take a look and see. We have 38 people employed. We have one person unemployed. He's just the village bum. He would be unemployed no matter what we did. That's just, he enjoys, his employment is being unemployed. We've got 14 homeless, which means that these houses should take care of that. We should see our approval ratings go up, after which point we'll just be waiting for our exports to come through again. So I will hang out for just a moment, waiting for the cash to come through, and then we'll put down a bunch of farms over here so that we can make even more money. And that's a basic synopsis for how we're going to be going through the game from now on. I'm going to go ahead and increase the budget right there on all of our country houses so that people are happy with their living situations. We have broken the 20% mark. Indeed, over 1/5 of our citizens think that we are awesome. Doesn't really help us in an election sense, but, you know, we do the best that we can. Our exports were only 2,000. However, we should be in the realm of... Oh, we just got a bunch of immigrants, too, so that's going to be another problem. The immigrants come through pretty thick in this game. You always have to be watching out for them. I think they accelerated the rate at which you get imported citizens. I prefer to think of my citizens as imports. But anyways, they seem to have accelerated the rate at which you get both freighters and the rate at which you get immigrants. I don't know if that's completely or totally true. Don't quote me on it. I just feel like the game has been accelerated slightly. It also could be due to the fact that I'm playing the game on max speed. Until we get the king to show up with the next bit of money, the next thing we're going to do is we need to take a look at plantations. We need to get something to export. And so bananas, not very good at the land we're looking at, although the game has changed a little bit. Even if you plant something on red land right now, it's not going to matter. Like, so for example, I could put this farm right here, and eventually in the modern era we would be able to get it up to like 250 efficiency, and it would be just as good as though we had planted it on the green earlier in the game. So less things to worry about with regards to your planting. Cocoa, not so good. Coffee, we've got a pretty good coffee field. Pretty good grip of land for coffee. I may consider developing in that respect then. I'll probably put it right there. And that'll be our first coffee farm. We need exports. We really, really need exports right now. So I don't mind dipping down into the red briefly in order to ensure the fact that we end up with an extra export that'll make us even more money in the future. Our mandate is dwindling right now because I haven't been accomplishing the quests. Luckily, the quests come in spurts, so I should be able to get that done before I get myself too... Well, I don't want to talk about spurting too much. I might get excited or something. Let's go ahead and continue forward with just the extra work that we're going to need. And so this building should fill out. The same things that have always been here in Tropico are still here. You can have the workers that are working at the location, the education requirement for each person to work there, the job quality, and how much wealth it gives them. The upgrades are underneath this tab right here. Once we've done some research and we've gotten some actual upgrades to put into some of our locations, that's where they'll be hidden. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade that to max so that the job quality is 65 and so that, you know, everybody just stays happy. I am glad that we have the clearance to get a bunch of rows of farms in before the giant phallus right there gets in the way. That's a good thing for us. We don't have a whole lot of exports, but the king should bail us out very, very shortly because it's almost the end of the year. I'll probably put in a pineapple farm around here somewhere. The game does try to choose what farm it asks of you in your first quest by looking at the land that you have. Indeed, it did do just that. So let's go ahead and put in a pineapple farm now as well, so that we can complete that quest, and then we'll extend our mandate out by another year. That'll give us 3 years to play with, which is much better than 2 years to play with. Additionally, I should probably continue to put in more roads. So let's go ahead and drop a road right there, and then we'll put in some houses as well if we got the space later on, but I don't know if we'll have it for right now. We've also got enough money to drop in another plantation, and so I'm going to go for basically anything that diversifies the crops that I have. We can also plant sugar. So let's go ahead and go with a sugar field. I think my plan for right now is to have all of these run over to here, then we'll have a road that goes through and they'll run all the way back. All of our kind of, well, I guess all of our residential building and all of our municipal building and all of our commercial building, if I wanted to do this in a SimCity sense, will take place here.
His Royal Majesty has instructed me to present you with this letter of commendation for your achievements in the name of the Empire.
Apparently, the exchange rate on letters of recommendation is about $5,000 because we can get a treasury subsidy. We can get a personal gift to our Swiss bank account. If you're new to Tropico, your Swiss bank account is basically your score. At the end of the game, once you get there, it'll say you embezzled this much money, and you're really trying to get that up into like the millions as you play the game. I've never managed to get higher than like $700,000 or $800,000. It takes a lot of work to get a ton of money embezzled. We're going to do the official mandate extension, though, for 12 months. It's going to take us up to 3 years and 5 months. It's going to allow us to be the president for a little bit longer, or the governor right now. Right now, we are the governor. And so there it is. We've extended our mandate. We still have things to do, so let's not slow. We've got about 3 minutes left in the episode, and I want to haul that ass. I want to load that thing on up in a truck and keep it moving. And so in the interest of hauling ass, we will continue to construct. Over here, we got more people working. Very good. Go ahead and increase the budget of everything. And that's what I mean by one of the things that I feel has dumbed the game down quite a bit is that there's no need to do anything with your budget other than just set everything to max. As long as you set everything to max, the game seems to work out. If you leave things at their default values, weird things happen and you have like rebellions and strange, because everybody's unhappy all the time. And so in the interest of keeping our general antidepressant use down within our utopian civilization, I try to make sure that everybody stays happy. What we need now is a library, although it's too expensive for us, so we're probably going to have to wait until our next export cycle. That isn't something that brings me a whole lot of joy. However, our export cycle right now is actually just a bike. We put all of the things that our country exports onto the basket on the front of a bike, and we just ship it off to God knows where. I have no idea. Our export cycle is literally an export cycle right now. So hopefully in the future we'll get helicopters and planes or something to make our life a little bit easier. I just realized that I ruined my lumber harvesting campaign by putting down this farm like an idiot, and so I actually am sort of embarrassed about that. That's kind of a major screw up. Well, damn. I'm not even sure how to unembarrass myself right now. It's the first episode and I've already screwed up tremendously. However, it is nice because we don't necessarily... Oh, good, our exports are going up. So we're actually exporting about $6,000 worth of goods this time. And as the productivity of each of these locations goes up, it's only going to get better. Let's see. Let's drop... We need to get our research started right now because it's going to become important very, very soon. We will drop our... Which is the front end of the library? There it is. That's the front end of the library. We'll drop it right... Let me rotate this so I can get everything lined up properly. We're going to go... I don't think a road can go around that, so we'll go right there. And that's going to be actually the major expenditure for this export cycle. However, the king should bail us out very, very shortly and give us about $5,000, which will be amazing because I love $5,000.
His Royal Majesty is eager to see his fruit care plan in action. He's expecting your first shipment of fresh fruit.
Okay, and so now we have a mission to export 3,000 pineapples, which will give us 6 months of mandate. We definitely want to take that. We only have one pineapple farm, though, as far as I know. No, we have sugar, pineapple, and coffee. Okay, we're doing all right now. Well, we're not doing it. We have a diversified crop, but we don't have a condensed crop, so we need to make sure there's the extra cash.
Presidente, as you know, it is your will alone that keeps Tropico together. Without you, the entire island would crumble to dust and be lost forever.
So this is the first quest we're going to get from our old friend Penultimo, who does indeed make an appearance in this game. He wants us to consider a member of our dynasty, and we have to come up with a competition to decide which of our cousins is going to be our heir. And so I'm going to do an arm wrestling competition because that seems like a logical way to go about selecting the heir of an entire nation, right?
As the heir was born, all animals became quiet. A light shone through the skies, and La Chupacabra herself went to the crib and bowed to the infant. At least, that is what we will write in the history books.
As you should. I feel like that's an event that should really go into the history books. I feel like you're being facetious right now, but these things actually did happen. Live to work, work to live, never question Del Splatter. So let's see here. We can choose the stats that our heir gets. I'm going to go with Mentor, I think, because students graduating faster is really, really good. The mining and oil deposits depleted slower is a good one, too. That would make us a ton of money. This one would... Actually, I'm going to go with the mining and oil deposits. Let's go with that. And so it appears as though our heir is kind of a Lindsay Lohan-looking individual or something. Looking a little slovenly right now, but I don't judge. I'm just going to leave it how it is. We got to get her kind of set up, though. This is going to be the last thing we do in this episode. So let's go ahead. We need her in white, obviously, because that is... If you put somebody in white, that's the color of purity, it's the color of divinity, and we are trying to convince all of our people that we are indeed divine. The red, no, we can't really do the colored hair right now. Let's go ahead and make sure that everybody's got normal colored hair right now, because you can't be ruling a country with hair dye all up in there. Not going to give her a hat. We are just going to give her the family Ray-Bans, though. There they are. Family Ray-Bans. She's looking good. I'm feeling pretty good about this here. Camilla Del Splatter. I like it. That sounds like an individual who gets shit done. Let's click OK, and then there's our heir right there. And so if we ever want to, we can actually pass. We can have her get voted in. I've never done it because I really, really like my character, but it can be done. So there is that to consider. You can also select her like so. And so there it is. Once you select her, you can also go back to here. Anytime you want to do that one more time, you can just like click in between people. You can go back to your dynasty whenever you want and select people just manually that way, and then tell them where you want them to go. Unfortunately, they changed the way the game works a little bit now, where I don't think the Presidente like inspires people or anything anymore, so just something to be aware of. I'm going to break the episode off right here. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me in this, the first episode of our Tropico 5 playthrough. I've enjoyed the game with you. I will enjoy this playthrough tremendously because I really, really do like Tropico. It's my favorite city builder of all time, and since we're actually on borrowed time right now, I should probably pause the game while I do this spiel. See you guys in the next episode. Take care out there, everybody, and hi-do.